World Economic Forum launches probe into founder Klaus Schwab over whistleblower allegations. That's right, guys. Klaus Schwab is done. Let's get into it. Hey everybody, welcome back to Jonny Says So. And today, we are talking about the surprise resignation of Klaus Schwab, chairman and founder of the World Economic Forum, which happened yesterday, and the not-so-surprising revelations that dropped just today. That's right, guys. World Economic Forum launches probe into founder Klaus Schwab over whistleblower allegations. The World Economic Forum announced on Tuesday that it has launched an investigation into its founder, Klaus Schwab, following a whistleblower letter alleging misconduct by the former chairman. The announcement came a day after the 87-year-old Schwab said he was resigning as chairman, effective immediately, without stating a reason. The Wall Street Journal, which first reported the probe, said an anonymous letter last week to the WEF's board raised concerns about its governance and workplace culture, including allegations that the Schwab family mixed their personal affairs with the firm's resources without proper oversight. So that's it. That's this whole whistleblower allegation and probe that they're going to be launching. Now, I am not surprised in the least. I mean, to anybody who's paying attention to the World Economic Forum, this should be common knowledge. This is how these people operate. They do this fancy annual conference every year where they all fly to Davos, rub elbows with the global elite, often on taxpayers' dimes, and yeah, they're just used to charging their personal expenses to other people. Let me know what you think in the comments, but I am absolutely not surprised by these revelations one bit. Now, of course, this news comes just one day after Klaus Schwab announced that he was giving up his position as chairman of the World Economic Forum rather abruptly. Nobody really saw it coming. So yeah, World Economic Forum founder Klaus Schwab retires as chairman. This came out yesterday. Klaus Schwab, the founder of the World Economic Forum, best known for hosting an annual meeting of political, business, and other elites. But guys, don't forget, this is just a think tank. They're just having conversations. These business leaders and other elites and politicians, they're just talking. They're not shaping policy. Wink, wink. In the Swiss Alpine town of Davos is retiring as chairman more than a half-century after creating the Geneva-based think tank, the forum said Monday. The forum quoted Schwab, 87, in a statement saying he was stepping down with immediate effect. Now, you might be thinking that this is a good thing or cause for celebration, but I would hold that thought because the article goes on to say, former Nestlé chairman and CEO Peter Brabeck-Letmathe was unanimously selected as interim chairman by the forum's board at a special meeting on Sunday, the statement said. A search committee has been set up to choose a permanent successor. So in the meantime, you have Peter Brabeck, who was the former CEO of Nestlé, and in many ways, he is just as much of a cartoonish supervillain as Klaus Schwab himself. He was a controversial figure at one point in, I want to say, like 2010, 2012 era, when as the CEO of Nestle, he was actually quoted as saying that he doesn't believe water is a human right. You can't make this stuff up, guys, but it's true. Check this out.
One of the biggest videos coming out of the water industry was in the early 2000s, and I want to remind viewers of this. This was the head of Nestle at the time, and he was discussing, is water a human right? If you haven't seen this video, it's time you watch it. Take a look.
Water is, of course, the most important raw material we have today in the world. It's a question of whether we should privatize the normal water supply for the population. And there are two different opinions on the matter. The one opinion, which I think is extreme, is represented by the NGOs who bang on about declaring water a public right. That means that as a human being, you should have a right to water. That's an extreme solution. And the other view says that water is a foodstuff like any other. And like any other foodstuff, it should have a market value. Now, what I find absolutely mind-blowing about all of this is that you really don't hear a lot of leftists and bleeding heart liberals absolutely outraged about the World Economic Forum, their agenda, and their influence over Western governments. Because they push some really dystopian stuff, guys. I mean, it's become a meme at this point, but I want to remind you of some of the stuff that they are pushing. Welcome to 2030. I own nothing, I have no privacy, and life has never been better. Here's another one, right from their Twitter. Meat will be a special treat by 2030. This video is just creepy. 8 predictions for the world in 2030. You'll own nothing and you'll be happy. Whatever you want, you'll rent, and it'll be delivered by drone. The US won't be the world's leading superpower. A handful of countries will dominate. You won't die waiting for an organ donor. Okay, that's positive. We won't transplant organs, we'll print new ones instead. Okay, never mind, that's dystopian. You'll eat much less meat. An occasional treat, not a staple, for the good of the environment and our health. How creepy is that? You have an unelected globalist organization that supposedly doesn't shape policy, but it's telling you that in just 5 years' time, meat will be a special treat. How are they going to mandate what people eat? Sounds like sort of global communism, perhaps? 1 billion people will be displaced by climate change. We'll have to do a better job at welcoming and integrating refugees. Polluters will have to pay to emit carbon dioxide. There will be a global price on carbon. This will help make fossil fuels history. Wow, it kind of sounds to me like they've already had quite the success in shaping Canada's policy over the last 10 years, doesn't it? And that's because, despite the claims that the World Economic Forum is just a think tank that doesn't actually shape policy, Klaus Schwab has been on record bragging about penetrating the cabinets of global leaders all across the world. Remember when Klaus Schwab, founder of the World Economic Forum, openly bragged about penetrating government cabinets around the world, including Canada's? This is crazy, guys.
This notion to integrate young leaders is part of the World Economic Forum since many years. When I mention now names like Mrs. Merkel, even Vladimir Putin and so on, they all have been young global leaders of the World Economic Forum. Mm-hmm. But what we are very proud of now, the young generation, like Prime Minister Trudeau,
Prime Minister Trudeau and his entire cabinet, including Mark Carney,
President of Argentina and so on, that we penetrate the cabinets. So yesterday I was at a reception for Prime Minister Trudeau, and I know that half of this cabinet, or even more half of this cabinet, are for our actually young global leaders of the World Economic Forum.
And that's true in Argentina, too. Wow.
Yeah.
Sorry. That's true in Argentina as well.
It's true in Argentina, and it's true in France now. Mm-hmm. I'm with the president, who is a young global leader, but...
Question commentaire.
Now this clip coming up is great. This is somebody asking a question in the House of Commons. You'll notice the lack of people there. This was during COVID when we were doing our social distancing.
Questions and comments. The Honourable Member for Ottawa.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I listened to my colleague's speech. I had a constituent that wanted me to ask a question about outside interference to our democracy. Klaus Schwab is the head of the World Economic Forum, and he bragged how his subversive WEF, World Economic Forum, has quoted infiltrated governments around the world. He said that his organization had penetrated more than half of Canada's cabinet. And I was wondering, in the interest of transparency, could the member please name which cabinet ministers are on board with the WEF's agenda? My concern is the deputy.
Order. I know that the member was in a really good question there, but the audio is really bad and the video is really bad as well. And I apologize. I don't know if the member. Okay, let's.
That is completely unbelievable. I don't know about you guys. Let me know in the comments, but I could hear the audio just fine. I believe there was only one word that sort of got garbled by the connection. It's absolutely crazy. He does not want to answer the question. They just sweep it under the rug as any sort of criticism of the World Economic Forum is just a conspiracy theory. Why is that?
Let's try again. The honourable member for Timmins James Bay.
Mr. Speaker, that member was promoting open disinformation. That's not debate. We have to call out disinformation.
We'll get into debate again.
Luckily, Pierre Poilievre has been very critical about this organization and its influence on Canadian politics, and he has not been shy about sharing those views.
Our nation's sovereignty. Does your pledge to ban cabinet ministers from being associated with or involved with the WEF expand to those you hire as staff as well as advisors?
Yes. No staff, no ministers, no MPs in my caucus will be involved whatsoever in that organization. It is a group of high-flying, high-tax, high-carbon hypocrites who all got on their private jets to fly off to a remote ski village where they talked about how working class people should not be allowed to heat their homes or drive their pickup trucks. I'm not going to work for a group of globalist billionaires who serve their own interests at the expense of everyone else. We're speaking out against it. As for Mr. Carney, you're right, he's part of the World Economic Forum that the finance minister joins, which says that in 2030, only 9 years from now, you will own nothing and you will love it. That is the agenda of these people. Maybe that's why over the last year they've done everything in their power to make housing completely unaffordable so that nobody can afford it except them, a small group of landed aristocrats, while the common people are out in the field doing the work. We on this side want to democratize property ownership, make it available to everybody. And stopping foreign governments from interfering in our elections. Our capital is Ottawa. It is not Beijing. It is not Davos. And by the way, I will be banning every single minister in my government from any involvement in the World Economic Forum.
In a foreign influence registry to track and expose any who are paid by foreign dictators to influence and manipulate our politics. We will ban all of my ministers and top government officials from any involvement in the World Economic Forum. Thank you. There will be no more mandates, no central bank digital currency, no mandated digital ID. And we will recognize once and for all that parents come first in raising our children. Their values should come before the government's imposition.
That is why I've made it clear that my ministers in my government will be banned from participating in the World Economic Forum when I'm in government. Work for Canada. Work for Canada. If you want to go to Davos to the conference, make it a one-way ticket. But you can't be part of our government and working for a policy agenda that is against the interests of our people.
So in my opinion, at least, I think it's fairly obvious that the World Economic Forum has been very successful in implementing its agenda in Canada over the last few years, and Mark Carney is going to be a accelerated continuation of just that, and the only thing standing in his way is Pierre Poilievre, who I don't think is perfect, but I truly think that in the direction of Canada, this is going to be the most important election of our lifetimes. And that's my show for tonight, guys. Now I'd love to turn it over to you folks in the comment section now. What do you make of Klaus Schwab's resignation? Do you think there's more to the story than just his travel expenses? Do you think Pierre Poilievre is for real when he says he wants to push back on the World Economic Forum and its influence in Canada? And as always, if you like what you see, hit the subscribe button so you can be notified of my future content, smash the like button, and as always, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.